Hello, hello, here is Aage again. I want to talk to you a little bit about how do we communicate and speak with ghosts? Well, yes, we can. Since the beginning of time, we have wondered, what happens after we die? What is it like afterwards? Who's there? And what can we expect? There's two answers to that. One of them is it's a little more technical, and the other one is we simply do not die. I have actually covered that in several radio shows in the past, and the last one you can go to broadcastteamalpha.com and scroll down a little ways, and you can see it down there. And I think it is well established that there is all kinds of things afterwards. We have the pictures, we have the videos, we have the voice recordings, and there are thousands of people that have personal experiences with departed ones. And these are ongoing experiences which they talk about. And they have experiences with these departed ones where they get information and they have communications with them. The only way to deny this is kind of like doing what the guy does when he walked down to the ocean with a Dixie cup, scoops up a little water, look in the Dixie cup, and he says, well, whales do not exist because there are none of them in my Dixie cup. Well, he may not be a total moron, because that's a medical term for somebody with an IQ of 50, but he could be really close to qualifying for the idiot, because that's one of 75 IQ. We must remember that truth can be everywhere, even where we do not see it. We cannot deny this evidence that there are spirits, there are disembodied entities, intelligent thought forms, and all of them are just there. All we have to do is to look at it and not deny it before we actually look at it. There's even some highly contested scientific evidence that proves that something leaves the body at the time of our death. And that something has weight. See, in 1907, there was a doctor, Dr. Duncan McDougall. He was in Haverhill, Massachusetts. He wanted to prove that the soul existed. And according to the writings of that time, he did. Over a period of time, he found 6 people that was close to dying, and he placed their bed on sensitive industrial scales, and they were observed 24/7 until they died. And right shortly after they died, the bed and everything in it, including the person, suddenly lost 21 grams. That is right about 3/4 of an ounce. And he says, okay, I have proven the existence of the soul because it left when they died. You can research this, and it's an interesting story. You can go to, don't go to Google, go to DuckDuckGo or somewhere else, and you can find more of this. And I know what left the body now. He claims it was the soul, but the soul is entirely spiritual and non-physical. It has no weight. Now, the astral body, on the other hand, has an affinity to mass. And a straw traveler can tell you that if they really look for it. The biggest mass is right under us, Earth. And of course, the establishments in science, they will debunk this because they cannot explain it. And of course, if they can't explain it, then it doesn't exist. But still, the $64 trillion question is, how can we communicate with them? Yes, we can. I'll explain about at least 4 different methods that you can do this with. And it's not that difficult. And you can communicate with something that is non-physical. And this will cover both electronic, using your mind, and also by written communication. It can be done different ways. The first thing I want to mention to you here is the Tesla Spirit Radio. In 1901, Nikola Tesla created a radio, a very simple device, got about 12, 13, 14 different components to it. And he could hear voices with it. And at that time, there were no radio stations in the United States or anywhere. The first radio station that came into effect was registered in 1920. That was KDKA. Now, that's 19 years later. Now, after that, Nikola Tesla created the radio, he communicated and he talked about it in an interview. And he said, and I'll quote this because I wrote it down for you. My first observation positively terrified me, as there was present in them something mysterious, not to say supernatural. And I was alone in my laboratory at night. The sounds I'm listening to at first sound like human voices conversing back and forth in a language I did not understand. Remember, Nikola Tesla was a well-educated man. He was fluent in 7 languages. So at least it was not one of those 7 languages. And at that time in 1901, there may have been less than 20 radio transmitters in the whole country, only for experimental and research purposes. Now, Marconi, he stole the idea from Nikola Tesla. It is well established. Of course, these voices that Nikola Tesla heard has later been confirmed by other experimenters to be spiritual entities or non-physical entities speaking through the Tesla Spirit Radio. This is confirmed by having 2-way conversations with entities coming through the Tesla Spirit Radio. We can be asking questions, and whoever is on the other side, they're answering. They're answering the questions. And if you have a little bit of knowledge with electronics, you can make one of these things. It'll probably cost you all about $20 to do it. Go to YouTube and put in the search bar Tesla Spirit Radio. You got a lot of people out there that built them, and you can hear the results. They are astounding. Another way that you can learn about how to build one and learn more about it is to go to, I'm going to give somebody's web address out here, and I'm sure they don't mind. That's unarianwisdom.com/Teslas-Spirit-Radio. I'm going to do the first, I'm going to spell the first one. That's UNARIUNWISDOM.com. Go have a look. And then there is something that has a lot of credibility. This invention on how to communicate with the supernatural has also been patented. Think on that. I'm a patent holder. I know what it takes to get a patent. You don't get it without having sound science behind it. This is something they're doing at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona, under the supervision of Dr. Gary Schwartz. They have created a circuitry with an antenna and are feeding it through a computer so you can actually type questions and you get an answer. Now, the answers they're getting at this time are only yes and no. And the answers are coming back light coded. That means if it means a yes, then there's a green light showing up. If the answer is a no, there's a red light showing up. That's how they keyed it into the computer. But they do get answers. And what I hear is that so far, the answers they're getting are all accurate. Now, they are not able to prove or positively identify who they're communicating with, except for the yes and the no answers. This will be researched much more, he says, and it'll become common knowledge in the next few years. So can you imagine being able to communicate with someone on the other side of the veil? Anyone of your choosing? That could be Nikola Tesla, could be Gandhi, Buddha, and you know this guy that you all know as Jesus, or your mom, if she has gone on. Think about that. This is coming. It will be possible in the future, even in this timeline, probably in your lifetime. So stay on top of this one. You can actually wait for this to come about even before our transition into 5D, where we probably don't need it anymore. And you should follow the development of Dr. Schwartz on this, and go to University of Arizona and look around, and it's going to turn interesting. You can read more about this at the Soul, let me do that again. The soulphonefoundation.org. And then there's another way to communicate with the spiritual worlds. There was a guy over in France, and he took pictures of disembodied spirits just about every time he tried. This was back in the late 1960s. I read about this even before I left Europe and came to the United States. What he did was really very simple, and we can all do this. And what he did is actually, what he did turned into some of a scary experience for him, because he took pictures of dead folks. And this was pretty much any time he tried. When he was showing these pictures around his village in southern France, it scared the daylights out of people, and they turned on him. He had to move out of town, or as he said in the article I read, that they probably would have killed him. It was a very Catholic area in the area where he was, and you know, the superstition, the dogma, and you know, stupidity and the religion, you know, they wear all the same shoes. So I can understand how they turned on him. You know, these people don't really know much about the real spiritual world. And they, of course, they accused him of working with Satan. You know that guy. He's the cause of anything that is not good. And you can imagine how that went over. Let me explain what he did. He built and created a Tesla coil. And I'm not sure exactly how many volts it was putting out, but from what I remember, from the picture that was with the article, the Tesla coil reached about to his knee or a little above. So it looked like the Tesla coil could have been putting out at least 500,000 or maybe 1,000,000 volts. But that I don't know exactly. And suggesting that if you're going to build one of that size, so you can at least put out 1,000,000 volt. It's very simple, takes a little work. Of course, you can also buy these things. He took the Tesla coil out to the local graveyard. And sometimes he set up the Tesla coil right on a freshly dug grave where somebody within the last 24 hours will put in the ground. He used an extension coil and he plugged it in. And then he walked away what seemed to be about 20 to 30 feet, could be about 10 meters or so. And he started taking pictures. Very often he could capture the guy who was in the grave, standing next to it and looking at him. How would you think if you took a picture like that? I don't exactly know what brand of camera he had, but it looked like a square black box like this. And I had one of those cameras back in the 60s and so on. So I know that they were very commonly used, but there were several brands of it. And also it is important to say that the cameras that, I mean, the film that went into that camera came on a roll, and it was lead-based film. Now, I don't think that would make a lot of difference, but lead-based film has an easier access for some reason to things at a higher vibratory rate in the light spectrum, whatever that would mean. And of course, these pictures, you know, they didn't go over too well in his neighborhood where he was showing them to his friends. So that's why they turned on him. And for people who have access to a Tesla coil, this could be an interesting experiment. You can actually buy these things also. They're a little pricey, but look it up. And there are auction sites on the internet where you probably also can find some of these things. So just go for it. Because when you set up this Tesla coil and plug it in, it creates a plasma bubble. And it appears to me like he may have been at the edge of that plasma bubble. And I know that if you're too close to a Tesla coil and take pictures, all you get is white. But if you are at the edge of it, that's probably where the picture came out. Anyway, that is my opinion. You just got to go and try to experiment with it yourself. Another way is that I created a communication device that a radionic builder at Copen Labs in England gave me the design for. I did not come up with this myself. Barry Kraft at Copen Labs did, and they made a radionic computer that has it can heal people at a distance, get rid of bugs in crops and so on in the fields. It could create vitamins out of just distilled water, just by turning a few knobs on the computer. These are some of the things that can be done. I used to have a Mark 12 radionic computer, and we could do some really neat stuff with that one. In fact, if we put the picture of a departed one in the well of a radionic computer, and then turn it on, tune it to that vibration, and then we may be able to bring the consciousness entity to the location of the computer. We still need to communicate with it. So what we can do there is we can use that little contraption that I put together. And let's see, let me show you here. This is what it would look like. What I did, I took a coat hanger, two of them actually, and I broke them up and I created a pyramid type of shape. That would look like this. And look at it from above, it looks like this. And then I turned that upside down and I put the apex of the pyramid next to the microphone of a recording device. That's the recording device right there. And then start communicating, because they can see you. Some of them are able to hear you, but it's more like telepathic communication, because for you to communicate into an unseen world where have no air, the voice will not carry. And you see, this is kind of fifth dimensional communication. It's not just parallel worlds, it's fifth dimensional. And you can train yourself to do this. And also what you can do, you can write messages to them. Because just because they are physically gone, you cannot see them, but they can see you. And they can still read. So write the messages. Tell them, speak into the pyramid. And if you do better yet, you can have aluminum foil around all four sides of that pyramid. Tell them to speak into the pyramid, because that magnifies the vibration, and something happens that gets recorded on the recording device. So we tried this, and yeah, it worked. We had voices coming on. Another thing that I want to say about writing messages, which is very effective in communicating with disembodied spirits, that is that you are here in the physical. They can be standing next to you, but they are in another reality. They are looking back into the physical. It's kind of like you going into the bathroom, looking in the mirror. If you write a message, put it on the mirror, it's going to look backwards. Everything look backwards in the mirror. So write the message backwards for them. That'll make it easier for them to understand. And if I was you, I would probably write it in brilliant color, maybe big, a black marker on white paper, because it depends on where they are. When they are looking at you, the very lowest part of the astral world doesn't really have a lot of, yeah, it's lit up, but it is darker than here. It's kind of dusk, I guess the term would be. It isn't as brilliant colors as here. So make sure there's a contrast. That'll make it easier for them to see. And yeah, you can have some fun with this. But if you write messages alone, it could be a little difficult to hear the answers if you want to communicate with them. But just because they are no longer physical doesn't mean that they don't have a way to communicate in the physical. One thing you can say about disembodied entities or spirits is that they're good with electronics. You can also tell them, let's say, turn the lights off, turn on the TV, speak to me. There's a recorder that I use a lot. Speak into my recorder. Chances are you could have something. So another way that you could do is hold out your hand, write the message, hold my hand. If you do that, leave it a little time. You may not be able to hear, see or hear anything, but the first indication of them being there is that your hand will feel cold. For some reason, a spirit can suck energy out of the physical. So if your hands start feeling cold, it's a sign that they may be there. So think about that. And you can ask questions. Also say something to the effect of, visit me in a dream. Tell me the answer in a dream. They just might be able to visit you because they have a much simpler way of doing that. And also another way to communicate with them, that is an excellent way of doing it, and that is by astral travel, which you very often do at night. You leave the body while the physical body is resting. You leave the body and you can go out there and communicate and do things, visit places, talk to other entities, either doing the same thing or disembodied entities. And then you come back and normally you don't remember a lot of it. And that is because your astral vehicle has no intelligence of its own. It only operates from memory. So whatever you remember in your physical body and brain and all the cells in your body, that memory you have access to in the astral worlds. And whatever you experience out there may not come back with you because there is this, the astral vehicle is attached to the physical body through a silvery cord. It's not that big, but the silvery cord is your connection to the physical. So when you are out there, consciously feed the information of what you experience back through the silvery cord to your memory, and then you could be able to remember much better. Now, astral travel, there is, like I said, it's not that hard to learn. Nori and I have a class on astral travel on our website, broadcastteamalpha.com. And that class is for the members of the Mastermind Connection. And that you can go to patreon.com/the mastermind connection. And you can sign up as a member. It's rather expensive. It's $2 to become a member. So then you can go have a look. And you can find some of these classes. The classes are at different levels of participation, so you can have a look. But this is something that it can easily be learned. It's not that hard. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to take some classes like that, then just get in touch with me and Nori, or just don't do it alone. Just you can learn it by yourself, but you'll have a better experience if you can discuss what you are learning with someone. So I want to say something about astral travel one more time, and that is that it's not that hard to learn. And you can go to YouTube and you can find there's many of them out there teaching it, and you can find one that I saw one that just learn how to astral travel in 9 minutes. Good luck with that. Now you may be able to get out of the body if you keep doing what she tells you for a month or so. Yeah, you could get out of the body, but once you're out there, you are in a totally different environment. You know nothing about what's out there. You don't know how to deal with what is out there. You don't know how to communicate necessarily with the disembodied entities out there or things. Not all of them are spirits. You are in an environment you know nothing about. That's why you should go through a class like the one I have, so you can understand that environment and know what to do with it, how to do with it, and where to go and what to see and things like that. So anyway, I hope this gave you a little bit of an idea of what you really can do. So if you have an interest in what is really strange, go for it. And also, I would encourage you to, would you see this on YouTube? Subscribe to our channel and click the bell, because then we will let you know when the new videos coming up. And also, the last word, be good to each other. I'll see you in the next video.